So my name is Markus Kissler-Patig. I'm going to try to stand somewhere where the light doesn't blind me. I'm from the European Space Agency. The European Space Agency has a number of sites in Europe. The closest one to you now is the one in Darmstadt. So if you exit here, take the S6 and drive 30 minutes, you exit at one of our centers. I'm not working in Darmstadt. I'm working in Madrid. And what I wanted to tell you a little bit today is how to actually get to space, even if your name is not Elon or Jeff or whatever these people are named that usually go there. So if you cannot go to space, at least we can send your code to space. So what are we doing? The European Space Agency really works in everything which is space. It's your navigation in your car, on your phone, etc. All these navigation satellites. It's all the space. I mean, all the communication up, down, secure communication. It is everything which has to do with astronauts. So that's the small part. Usually people think of space agency astronauts. So we do that as well. We do everything which has to do with, we have an Office of Planetary Defense. I'm afraid we will not protect you against large asteroids, but at least we can see them coming. But personally, I'm working in the science program. So the science program is about 10% of the space agency. We're spending about 700 million a year. And I see my presentation here. And the clicker is here. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. The science program, to give you an idea of what we do and the type of actually jobs that we offer and the type of work that you could find at our place. So my name is Markus Kissler-Patig. I'm the head of science operations. What does that mean? That I'm in charge of a fleet of spacecrafts in the solar system. We have about 20 spacecrafts. So I always say that we do the coolest things. I'm not biased at all, but in the space agency, my colleagues are sending satellites around Earth. Some of them are at 600 kilometers, which is probably not further away than Berlin or so. We send satellites all the way out to Jupiter, to Saturn, etc. So I'm in charge of a large fleet of spacecraft in the solar system. My background is actually physics, astrophysics. I have a PhD in astrophysics. My main topic of research is planetary destruction, but I'm not dealing with Earth, so I'm looking at further things. And if you're like my kids and you add 1 and 1, it's like, wait a minute, you're in charge of a large fleet of spacecrafts and you're dealing with planetary distractions. And then they ask me, but are you our father? Let's get started. So what do we do? The type of actually things we do is really for gathering knowledge for humankind, right? So we're trying to actually send out spacecrafts. We try to study the sun, so we do a lot of heliophysics. We're looking at space weather, which can actually influence quite a lot. I think if you're the sun is very active. It has a 22-year cycle. At the moment, this is a peak year, so this is why you see auroras all the way down to the latitude of Frankfurt. Okay. But we also do a lot of planetary science. That is, we fly to other planets and we explore other planets. We have a couple of satellites orbiting Mars. We have a satellite which is actually catching up with Mercury right now. We have one which is underway to Jupiter. We have another one which we're preparing to fly to Venus. And then we have astrophysics programs. Astrophysics programs is really looking away from our solar system and trying to actually understand the universe, trying to actually understand what our Milky Way has done. So what you were seeing here in the background is really our kind of at the moment our flagship mission. It ended taking data after 10 years, but now we need to process all these data. So you see that we actually measured 2 billion stars. It's about 20% of the Milky Way. So as you know, you live in the Milky Way. That's the galaxies that surrounds us. There are many of these galaxies, 10 to the 22 to be correct in the universe. But the one that we love and cherish is our Milky Way. So we measured 20% of every star in the Milky Way, the exact position, how it moves, spectral types, etc. Of course, this is a huge amount of data, and you can imagine that we need a lot of IT skills to actually make sense of it, not only to prepare it, but also to work it. So these are the data. So this, of course, we cannot fly out really of our Milky Way. It's too far. So everything you see here is actually all of these data put in our database. And then once you have the data on the database, you can turn and twist and look at our own Milky Way from all sides. And that's what we do. So in case you were wondered where you are here. I think we're flying through there. We're soon arriving at the solar system. But that's the type of work we do. Now, what is the European Space Agency? In one slide, that's what we are. We have 8 sites in Europe. So if you like this area, then come and see us at at our open day or come and apply for jobs in Darmstadt. That's where we have the European Space Operations Center. I actually chose to live in Madrid. That's where we do most of the science. But we're also in Rome. We have headquarters in Paris. We have a large technical center in Amsterdam. We have our astronauts are in Cologne. We have a center in Harwell near Oxford. And we have a small center in Redu as well. We are a relatively large agency. If you want to talk more to me, today I'm in the startup corner. I'm not really a startup. We're 50 years old. And yesterday, we have a 3-year cycle for funding. Yesterday, we got another 20 billion euros. So, it's a little bit more than a startup. In fact, this is a typo here. It's not million, it's billion. We have about 5,000 people working on the sites. Half of them are civil servants. I'm a civil servant. And the other half are actually contracted employees. So that is actually my office. I'm sure you can work in Darmstadt, but if you prefer Spanish food and weather, I also can recommend this place. I have a department with about 300 people, 200 of which are software engineers, or software IT, cybersecurity, data bank specialists, etc. So I'm an astrophysicist. I rely actually on people like you to tell me what I should do. I just want to actually explore Jupiter, right? So that's one of our sites. It's 20 minutes from Madrid. I live in downtown Madrid. What we do really is we do everything which has to do with the peaceful exploitation of space. So we do, some of our technology might be dual-use technologies, but so our purpose is really just peaceful applications in space. We have about 100 satellites in space. We are 50 years old this year, so we celebrated our 50th anniversary. And we have a site from where we launch in Kourou. These are the different sectors which I told you at the very beginning when we didn't have the slides in which we work. I'm working in the red area here, science and exploration of the solar system with humans, with robots, and just with telescopes. Then we have a large space which is in yellow here. There's technology, operations, space transportation. That's mostly what we do in Darmstadt. So if you're locally bound, that's what we do there. We also do Earth observations. We're looking down. We have the largest fleet of satellites of any space agency to monitor the Earth and climate and changes. As you expect, it's not looking good, but we have lots of interesting jobs there. Navigation, which has everything to do with the GPS there's a US system. The European one is called Galileo, so we have a lot of actually activities in there. Connectivity, secure communication is a topic which is more and more important. Space safety, as I said, also trying to keep you safe from any impacting, or at least giving you an alert of anything coming our way. Of the size of what extinguished the dinosaurs. So as every good space agency, I'm told you need to land on the moon. Okay, so did we land on the moon? I'm sure NASA did land on the moon. We didn't. The moon is very close, 300,000 kilometers. We went the hard way. We landed on the moon of Saturn. So we landed on Titan in 2005, 20 years ago. So on the right, you see Saturn, you see Titan, which is actually a moon, one of the 60, 80 moons of Saturn, which is larger than Mercury. So we landed there. That was easy because it has an atmosphere, so you can deploy a parachute and land. So one of our next project is actually to land on Enceladus. Enceladus is this one. So the one that you see here on the right, you see the little dot there. So that's one of the moons which actually has an ice crust, but below the ice crust there's an ocean. So it's one of the places which has the most likely habitat for a life in our solar system if there's life elsewhere, right? We keep searching on Mars. Mars is interesting, but it's pretty dry. Enceladus, so we have a mission now planning to land there to actually search for life over there. So what else do we do? So the other thing that we did that nobody else did is we were the first one to land on a comet. So on the right here you see a comet. And we first thought that it was just a dirty snowball. In fact, it had a potato shape, so we needed a lot of clever people to actually reprogram all our trajectories. It was a tumbling potato, and we needed to actually get into orbit of this gravitational field which was changing, and then we needed to drop a probe and land on that. So you can imagine that we need a lot of clever people who actually can in real time code us these type of things. So that was one of the other premieres we had. And what do we need IT for? I think of the 5,000 people, I would say probably 50% are IT engineers. And We need them for all kind of things. We need IT on board. So what you see here is one of the satellites we have just put together. So I was there a couple of weeks ago when the two pieces were on top. On the right-hand side, you have the brain of the satellite. On the left-hand side, you have the eyes of the satellite. And that satellite is designed to actually look for Earth analogs. So we're going to find hundreds of Earth analogs. It's called Plato, the mission. It's looking at exoplanets. And we're going to collect a lot of data, much more data than we can actually downlink. Because you're in space, you don't have your 10 gigabyte bit line up there. So we're using radio communication to download the data. We need to filter the data on board. And so we need AI on board to actually, according to certain criteria, just filter the data and send us down what we think is useful, and the volumes that we cannot downlink, keep them on board. So there's a lot of intelligence on board, a lot of programming necessary for the functions on board. We have also these satellites, every now and then things go bad. We're hit by cosmic rays, which trigger our electronics, which send them into safe mode. We need to recover them autonomously, and for all of this, we need actually intelligence on board. We don't want human intervention, so we are packing more and more AI on board to actually make sure that some functions are run autonomously, so that we can actually park satellites in a safe mode when glitches happen. So this one is actually going to be near Earth, about 1 million kilometers. But when we fly further down, further out in the solar system, we only, since the Earth rotates, we only communicate a few hours per day with them, and so a lot of that needs to be autonomy on board. What we need to do also is a lot of preparation before we fly somewhere. So here, we're going to actually fly to Mars. So these are that's not AI. That's actually real data. We have Mars Express is one of our satellites, which is orbiting Mars since 20 years, which are essentially 10 Mars years. So we have cartographed Mars to a meter resolution, sometimes better. We know the climate. We know where to find water underground, etc. So these are real images from the high-resolution stereo camera. That's a camera that the DLR delivered to ESA, and the data are treated in Berlin. But to do all of this, we need to actually plan. So we have a lot of actually software engineers who actually work for us planning and optimization algorithms, because we typically have many cameras on board, but we have a limited amount of power, we have a limited amount of memory, and we need to actually optimize the use of all the instruments depending also on the orientation of the spacecraft, on where we are, what we intend to do, what the orbit is, etc. And of course, we need people, and these are actually a group in Darmstadt, clever people who do flight dynamics, who actually can calculate how to get to Mars, right? You launch your satellite with a rocket, you're on a certain trajectory, and then you're actually trying to find your way to Mars. You rarely go there in a straight line. Actually, to Mars, yes, but if you want to go further into the solar system, you need to do gravitational assist of other planets, sometimes 7 or 9, and flying to Jupiter, which you do at the moment, for example, takes 7 years, with 9 flybys. So with 9 gravitational assists where you actually swing around other planets to get there. So a lot of very interesting actually puzzles to solve and to program. And so that's everything which we call uplink, everything which happens before the satellite even actually takes data. But then there's the part also, once the satellite took data, we get a lot of data down. And so getting a lot of data down means, I'm not sure if this is playing. Let me see if, yeah, oops. No, let me go one back. No. Okay. It's going to play. So it's a movie that's going to play. That's a mission called Euclid. It's one which is actually looking at everything but not the Milky Way. So what you see here, the line in the middle, that's our Milky Way. We are looking now at the rest of the universe. So the Milky Way is in the way, essentially. So that's the mission which is actually looking at... it's not playing. Okay, sorry. The movie is not playing. But essentially, we're looking at all the third of the sky, which is not covered by the Milky Way. And we are looking at everything which is in the background. So at the other 10 to the 20 or so galaxies in the universe, what we want to see is how dark matter and dark energy are distributed in the universe, and see the distortions of the galaxies. What that means is that we're downloading now in the petabyte range of data. And so we have petabytes or tens of petabytes, in fact, which are landing on the ground. That's all the part that is playing. That's all the part we can call downlink. And so now we actually need to actually build databases with the latest technology. I think many of you probably work in Kubernetes systems, so that's the type of technologies that we use. We need to we first thought we do it traditionally. We send these data out to the scientists in Europe, but we cannot do that anymore. So instead of sending data out to the users, we now need to bring the users to the data. And what we need to actually develop are platforms on which the users, the scientists can work, but which sits on our databases. So we developed large platforms. In our case, it's called ESA Data Labs, if you want to Google and look at it. So we need people who actually database specialists, and we need people who actually know how to actually program platforms, how to data mine. Data mining is a lot of activities we do. All of this needs to be secure, so we have a lot of cybersecurity specialists as well. And then we actually get fantastic images out there. I love looking at these images. Sorry, I'm just going to stare at them for a while. These are all real images, right? So these ones are from the last 6 months. We have a big data release now again with them, and that's one of our 16 active missions at the moment. So how can you join ESA? If you want to actually join us and do these type of things, or if you're more into communication and other things, it works as well. But science is cool. We have all of these branches in which we need people. I think you probably work in one of these areas, whether it's software engineering, AI, machine learning. We have a lot of that on board, on the ground. We have, of course, a lot of IT infrastructure to make all of that work. We have it also on the ground or on board of satellites. If you're an applied mathematician, we love you as well. If you brought your friend who's a geologist, we need geologists. I have geologists working for me, but mostly with field experience on Mars, and any of these other skills. So really, it's very broad. I encourage you to look at jobs.esa.int. That's our job portal. You can put an alert in there and actually look what type of jobs we offer typically. We have a flow chart here, so I have that as a roll-up poster. So if you want to come and see me today, I'm going to be here for the rest of the day. I'm in that corner near where you can get coffee and other things. That's what we need a lot of. In the startup area today, we are not really a startup with 20 billion that we got yesterday from the ministers and 50 years of experience, but we sometimes feel like a startup. A lot of what we do are one-off prototypes. So you can actually look at the flow chart, where are you, etc. But what I would say is look for this roll-up poster in that corner. Come and see me, and feel free to ask me any questions either now or later when you come and see me to actually understand what we do. Or if you're just interested in planetary destructions, I'm happy to tell you as well about that. Good. And thanks for your interest. Hope to see you at the stand. And if you have questions right now, please feel free to ask them right now.
Thank you so much. I love to hear you talk about space. I could listen to you for hours. Does anybody have any questions? I can come up to you, give you the microphone. You can ask a question. Don't be scared. I see some hesitation. Oh, braveness.
Hi. I'm coming from background of computer simulation. And here's the question. You showed data from Gaia telescope. It effectively shows that there is a repo in the galactic disk. To my knowledge, every system that flies in space usually settles down to a disk shape because it destructs its vertical moment. But here's the real question. Why there are elliptic galaxies?
Why there are elliptic
Yeah.
these shaped galaxies? Okay, so this is an astrophysics question, right? So I'm getting started, and I can the introductory course that I give at the university is 30 hours. So I'll give you the 30-second abridged version of the 30-hour class, right? But if you let a system unperturbed, it will settle, and it will just settle in a disk or whatever. But these systems are never unperturbed. So the one law which acts across the whole of the universe is gravity. Gravity acts at an infinity range. And our Milky Way, you saw it. This was a surprise to us, that it's kind of shaped, warped, at the same time that it's a disk which turns and which actually wobbles, because there are lots of other galaxies around, and these galaxies actually move and fly and perturb each other. So every time you have a perturbation in your gravity field, everything resettles. So everything is trying to actually get into the new shape to be in the minimal energy. So that's why you see these warped spiral galaxies. Our galaxy is a spiral galaxy. But if you really go and you collide two of these spiral galaxies, so our Milky Way, for example, and the closest neighbor, which is Andromeda, the Andromeda galaxy, you can almost see it with your naked eye, but certainly with a binocular from the northern hemisphere. these two will collide, okay? In a few 100 million years, nothing to panic about right now. And actually the systems are not dense, so on. But when these two collide, they will reshuffle the entire gravitational potential and they will form an elliptical galaxy. So that's going to look elliptical, as you saw maybe in these images from Euclid. So that's the 30-second condensed version of a 30-hour course of stellar dynamics. So, yeah. Any other question?
Well, thanks for your presentation. You mentioned that there's a new funding you just received. I think yesterday also the news dropped about the moon mission coming up. So I was just like curious, like what does it mean to ESA to have this funding right now, and also what possibilities does it open up, also concerning maybe the moon mission?
Okay, so the way you see that the European Space Agency is not exactly equivalent to the European Commission. We have member states. We have these 23 member states. And then we have 4 associated states. And they're the ones who come together every 3 years to give us fresh money. So they did that actually yesterday and the day before in Bremen. And we received 22 billion euros, right? So, of course, we make a proposal and we have projects against these. So what does it mean? That means that, in fact, 3 years ago, we got 16 billion. Now we got 22 billion. So we have another 6 billion. It means that we're just going to keep growing. Okay, so we're going to... I think the prediction is going to keep we're going to hire about 200 people in the next 2 years or so. So if you're interested in a job, I think it's a good time to switch or to apply to us. And we really, this money is distributed over all our programs. So there's, I think, science. So the science program received yesterday about 4 billion euros. So that means that we continue with our plans to land on Enceladus, for example, which is one of our projects, but we have in the pipeline, we always have almost somewhere between 5 and 10 projects in the pipeline, because our development phase are about 10 years. Then very often we need to fly somewhere, which takes, or we need to build it, which takes 5 to 10 years as well. And then it can be that we need to fly somewhere, which might also take 5 years. So when we start something, so the missions I start now, it's really not for me, it's for my children, right? So they're going to be ready and arriving in 20 years. So the landing on Enceladus, for example, is planned for 2055. So you need to have a special mindset to say, okay, what I do here is for humankind, it's not for me, and I will probably not see the results, but my children will, okay, or their children will, right? But the missions that I showed you, where we take data, same thing. They were not planned by me. They were planned by the generation of my parents, or my grandparents maybe not, but my parents certainly. So we always plan ahead. And now that we have another 4 billion, we have 4 projects that we had against that money. So we have another 4 projects which are going to come into our pipeline, where there are already 10 missions that are being at the moment developed or built, and that will join, and then it's a chain. At the moment we are flying about 20 missions in various parts as well. So yeah, the program is growing quite fast at the moment. Yeah. The science program for sure, but all of ESA as well. Yeah.
I would love to also have people give me money. And I can do whatever I want with that. I see your hands and I understand that you have questions, but we sadly don't have the time anymore. But you have a booth.
Come see me at the...
You can just follow him.
Just try to get coffee and just stop just before you get your coffee mug, and then look around and you see...
Or get a coffee and then stand
that banner,
there at the booth.
that roll-up poster, and I'm standing next to that.
You can ask all your questions there. Thank you so much again. A big applause for you.
Thanks for having me. Thanks. See you there.